My driving purpose since I became Chancellor is to make working people in all parts of our country better off, to rebuild our schools and our hospitals, to invest in our economy so that everyone has the opportunity to succeed after 14 years of mismanagement and decline by the party opposite, culminating in a £22 billion black hole in the public finances. That was their legacy, and the first job I faced as Chancellor was to set it right. So at the budget last October, and again in the spring, I made the choices necessary to fix the foundations of our economy. And we wasted no time in removing the barriers to growth. The biggest overhaul of our planning system in a generation, launching Britain's first national wealth fund and reforming our pension system to unlock billions of pounds of investment into our economy. We are starting to see the results. The stability that we have provided has helped support 4 cuts in interest rates, saving hundreds of pounds a year for families with a mortgage. Real wages have grown by more in the first 10 months of this Labour government than they did in the first 10 years of Conservative government. And the latest figures show that we are the fastest economy growing in the G7. Countries around the world lining up to do business with Britain again, with new trade deals with India, the United States and with the European Union too. We are renewing Britain. But I know that too many people in too many parts of our country are yet to feel it. This government's task, my task as Chancellor, and the purpose of this spending review is to change that, to ensure that renewal is felt in people's everyday lives, in their jobs and on their high streets. The priorities of this spending review are the priorities of working people, to invest in Britain's security, in Britain's health, and to grow Britain's economy so that working people are better off. Mr. Speaker, today I am allocating the envelope I set out in the spring. I am enormously grateful to my excellent team of officials at the Treasury and to my right honourable friend, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, for his tireless work throughout this process. Crunching the numbers, looking at the assets and the liabilities. And on that note, can I thank all my Cabinet colleagues for their contribution to this process. They are all assets to this Labour government. In this spending review, total departmental budgets will grow by 2.3% a year in real terms. Compare that to the Conservative choice of austerity. In contrast to our increase of 2.3%, they cut spending by 2.9% per year in 2010. So let's be clear. Austerity was a destructive choice for the fabric of our society. And it was a destructive choice for our economy too, choking off investment and demand, creating a lost decade for growth, wages and living standards. That is their legacy. My choices are different. My choices are Labour choices. The choices in this spending review that are only possible because of my commitment to economic stability and to the decisions that this government has made. The Conservatives' fiscal rules guaranteed neither stability nor investment, and that is why I changed them. My fiscal rules are non-negotiable, and they are the foundation of stability and of investment. My first rule is for stability, that day-to-day government spending should be paid for through tax receipts. That is the sound economic choice, and it is also the fair choice, because it is not right to expect our children and future generations to pay for the services that we rely on today. This first rule allows me, as I set out in the budget last year, to allocate £190 billion more to the day-to-day running of our public services over the course of this spending review, compared to the plans of the previous government. My second fiscal rule enables me to invest in Britain's economic renewal while getting public debt down on a downward path. The rule has allowed me to increase public investment by over £100 billion in the autumn and a further £13 billion in the spring. Investment to rebuild our transport networks, to rebuild our defence capability and to rebuild our energy security. In short, to grow our economy. Mr. Speaker, I've made my choices. Tough decisions, yes, for stability. Changing Britain's fiscal rules, yes, for investment. And today, delivering that investment for the renewal of Britain. Now it is a time for the parties opposite to make their choices. The spending plans that I am setting out today are only possible because of the decisions that I took in the autumn to raise taxes and the changes to our fiscal rules. Every one of those changes was opposed by the parties opposite. So today, they can make an honest choice and they can oppose these spending plans, as they opposed every penny I raised to fund them. Or they can make the same choice as Liz Truss: spend more, borrow more, with no regard for the consequences. And in their clamour to cut taxes for the richest, the Conservatives crashed our economy. They sent mortgage rates spiralling and they put our pensions in peril. I will never take those risks. And reform, well, they're itching to do the same thing all over again. Now, the member for Clacton may be playing the friend of the workers now, but some of us are old enough to remember when he described the disastrous Liz Truss budget as, and I quote, the best Conservative budget since the 1980s. Mr. Speaker, after damage is done, he still nods along. They have learnt nothing. And his party have been in Parliament for less than a year, and yet they have already racked up £80 billion of unfunded commitments. They are simply not serious. Mr. Speaker, every day it becomes clearer. It is Labour, and only Labour, that has a credible plan for the renewal of Britain. As I said in my spring statement, the world is changing before our eyes. And since the spring, the challenges that we face have become even more acute. The signs of our age of insecurity are everywhere. So we are acting on the promise in our plan to change, building renewal on foundations of national security, border security and economic security. As the Prime Minister said earlier this month, a new era in the threats that we face demands a new era for defence and security. That's why we took the decision to prioritise our defence spending by reducing overseas development aid, so that defence spending will now rise to 2.6% of GDP by April 2027, including the contribution of our intelligence agencies. That uplift provides funding for my right honourable friend, the Defence Secretary, with £11 billion increased in defence spending and a £600 million uplift for our security and intelligence agencies. That investment will deliver not only security, but also renewal. In Aldermaston and Lincoln, in Portsmouth and Filton, on the Clyde and in Rosyth, investment in Scotland, jobs in Scotland, defence for the United Kingdom, opposed by the Scottish National Party, delivered by this Labour government. And as we invest in our armed forces, our military technology and our supply chains, that also brings huge opportunities. £4.5 billion of investment in munitions, made in factories from Glasgow to Glasgow, Stevenage to Radway Green, and over £6 billion to upgrade our nuclear submarine production, supporting thousands of jobs across Barrow, Derby and Sheffield. We will make Britain a defence industrial superpower, with the jobs, the skills and the pride that come with it. A more unstable world presents new challenges at our borders too. where conflict has opened the way for organised criminal gangs. The British people rightly expect us to have control of who comes into our country. The party opposite said that they would take back control. Well, Mr. Speaker, they lost control. With one failed policy after another, no control, no security. In contrast, in the budget last year, I announced £150 million to establish the new Border Security Command. And today, to support the integrity of our borders, I can announce that that funding will increase with up to £280 million more per year by the end of the spending review for our new Border Security Command. Alongside that, we are tackling the asylum backlog. The party opposite left behind a broken system. Billions of pounds of taxpayers' money spent on housing asylum seekers in hotels, leaving people in limbo and shunting the cost of failure onto local communities. We won't let that stand. So I can confirm today that, led by the work of my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, we will be ending the costly use of hotels to house asylum seekers in this Parliament. Funding that I have provided today, including from the Transformation Fund, will cut the asylum backlog, hear more appeal cases and return people who have no right to be here, saving the taxpayer £1 billion a year. That is my choice, Mr. Speaker. That is the Labour choice. That is the choice of the British people. And, Mr. Speaker, if we want national security in a dangerous world, that does not stop at the strength of our armed forces or at our border. I have long spoken about what I call securonomics, the basic insight that in an age of insecurity, government must step up to provide security for working people and resilience for our national economy. Put simply, where things are made and who makes them matters. Take energy. The Tories neglected our nuclear and renewable sectors and closed our gas storage facilities, leaving us exposed to hikes in energy prices when Russia invaded Ukraine. And it was working people who paid the price for their mistakes. On this side of the House, we understand that energy security is national security. And so, because it is the right choice for bills, the right choice for jobs and the right choice for growth, this government is investing in the biggest rollout of nuclear power for half a century. A £30 billion commitment to our nuclear-powered future. Yesterday, my right honourable friend, the Energy Secretary, and I announced £14 billion for Sizewell C, producing the energy to power 6 million homes, supporting more than 10,000 jobs, including 1,500 apprentices, to build the nuclear workforce of tomorrow. And, Mr. Speaker, that's not all. We are investing over £2.5 billion in a new small modular reactor programme. Our preferred partner is Rolls-Royce, a great British company based in Derby. This investment is just one step towards our ambition for a full fleet of small modular reactors, as well as providing a route for private sector-led advanced modular reactor projects to be deployed across the UK. Alongside these, we are making nuclear-approved land available in Sellafield to attract private investment and create thousands more jobs. And I'd like to thank my honourable friend from Whitehaven and Workington for his work in this area. And to strengthen Britain's position at the forefront of a global race for new nuclear technologies, a cause championed by the Mayor of the East Midlands, Claire Ward, and my honourable friend, the member for Bassett Law, and to support pioneering work taking place in West Burton in Nottinghamshire, we are investing £2.5 billion in nuclear fusion. And to back British industries, pioneering work in carbon capture and storage will take place. Last year, we announced funding for 2 sites, on Merseyside and in Teesside, where we are building the world's first commercial-scale CCUS plant. Today, I can announce support for the Acorn project in Aberdeenshire, supporting Scotland's transition from oil and gas to low-carbon technology, a challenge and an opportunity well understood by the leader of Scottish Labour, Anas Sarwar, and by my right honourable friend, the Scottish Secretary. And we are also backing the Viking project in Humberside, a cause long supported by my honourable friend, the member for Great Grimsby and Cleethorpes. And because I am determined to make sure that the energy technologies of the future are built here and owned here, and that those jobs come to Britain, with spending review decisions means that we can invest in the wholly publicly owned Great British Energy. Great British Energy, headquartered in Scotland. These are investments to make sure the towns and cities which powered the last industrial revolution will play their part in our next industrial revolution, to reduce our reliance on overseas oil and gas and protect working families from price shocks. A new generation of energy industries for a renewed Britain. That is my choice. That is Labour's choice. That is the choice of the British people. Economic security relies on our ability to buy, make and sell more here in Britain. In April, this government faced a choice: to let British Steel in Scunthorpe go under or to intervene. We heard representations from workers. Mr. Speaker, that choice was the choice not of the metal trader, but this Labour government. We heard representations from workers, trade unions and from my honourable friend, the member for Scunthorpe. My right honourable friend, the Business Secretary, and I were not prepared to tolerate a situation in which Britain's steel capacity was fatally undermined. We were not prepared to see another working-class community lose the pride, lose the prosperity, lose the dignity that industry provides. So we did intervene to save British steel and the jobs that come with it, and I am proud of that decision. And this government will invest in Scunthorpe's long-term future and the future of steelworks across our great country, and in a vote of confidence in our homegrown steel. Heathrow Airport, where we are backing London by backing a third runway, has signed the UK Steel Charter, a multi-billion-pound airport expansion backed by Labour, built with British steel. And as we build our train and tram lines, our military hardware and our new power stations, that will mean orders for steel made in Britain. In Sheffield Forgemasters, where we are investing in nuclear-grade steel, and in Port Talbot, where this spending review confirms the £500 million grant to Tata Steel. A future for British-made steel, and a proud future for Britain's steel communities. Things built to last, built here in Britain. That is my choice. That is Labour's choice. That is the choice of the British people. This Labour government is backing British business. There will be more to come in the weeks ahead with our 10-year infrastructure strategy and our modern industrial strategy too. A plan drawn up in partnership with businesses and trade unions. And when I speak to business people and entrepreneurs about what they need to succeed, they say they need the chance to innovate. They need access to finance. They need a deep pool of talent. We have heard that message, and so today we are taking action. First, innovation, a great British strength. Our universities are world-leading, and we are proud of them. We want our high-tech industries in Britain today to continue to lead the world in the years to come, in car production, in aerospace, and in life sciences. So we are backing our innovators, backing our researchers, and backing our entrepreneurs, with R&D funding rising to a record high of £22 billion per year by the end of the spending review. And because homegrown AI has the potential to solve diverse and daunting challenges, as well as the opportunity for good jobs and investment here in Britain, I am announcing £2 billion to back this government's AI action plan, overseen by my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Science and Technology. And second, to champion those small businesses seeking access to finance as they look to grow. I am increasing the financial firepower of the British Business Bank, a 2/3 increase in its investments, increasing its overall financial capacity to £25.6 billion to help pioneering businesses start up and to scale up, backing Britain's entrepreneurs, backing Britain's wealth creators. And third, as we invest, if we are to thrive in the industries of the future, we must give our young people the skills that they need to contribute to our national success. As scientists, engineers and designers, as builders, welders and electricians. I know the ambition, the drive and the potential of our young people. And it cannot be right that too often those ambitions and that potential are stifled. When young people who want training find courses are oversubscribed and are turned away at the door, forcing growing businesses eager to recruit to look elsewhere, potential wasted and enterprise frustrated. So today I am providing record investment for training and upskilling. £1.2 billion a year by the end of the spending review to support over 1 million young people into training and apprenticeships so that their potential, their drive and their ambition is frustrated no longer. And on the subject of skills, Mr. Speaker, we should all recognise the Leader of the Opposition's own commitment to lifelong learning. At the weekend, she promised to learn and to get better on the job. Well, I am sure that members on the benches opposite will be supporting her in that endeavour. Good luck with that. As we build a strong and secure and resilient economy, working people must feel the benefits. That starts with the security of a proper home. Our planning reforms have opened up the opportunity to build. Now we must act to make the most of those opportunities. And a plan to match the scale of the housing crisis must include social housing. Neglected for too many decades, but not by this Labour government. And so, led by my right honourable friend, the Deputy Prime Minister, we are taking action. I am proud to announce the biggest cash injection into social and affordable housing in 50 years. A new affordable homes programme in which I am investing £39 billion over the next decade. Direct government funding to support house building, especially for social rent. And I am pleased to report that towns and cities, including Blackpool, Preston, Sheffield and Swindon, have already had plans to bring forward bids to build those homes in their communities. And I have gone further. Mr. Speaker, last autumn, I enabled greater use of financial transactions to support investment in our infrastructure, alongside strict guardrails that ensure that money is spent wisely through our public financial institutions. And so, in line with that commitment, I am providing an additional £10 billion for financial investments, including to be delivered through Homes England, to crowd in private investment and unlock hundreds of thousands more homes. Homes built by a Labour government, homes built for working people. But, Mr. Speaker, it is no good investing in new skills, new jobs and new homes if they are not properly connected. That is why last week, with the support of my right honourable friend, the Transport Secretary, I announced £15 billion of investment to connect our cities and our towns, the biggest ever investment of its kind. Investments in buses in Rochdale, train stations in Merseyside and Middlesbrough, mass transit in West Yorkshire, and metro extensions in Birmingham, in Tyne Wear and in Stockport. And alongside that, we are backing Doncaster Airport. Today, I am announcing a 4-year settlement for Transport for London to provide certainty and stability for our largest local transport network to plan for the future. And for other regions in the UK, I am today providing for a 4-fold increase in local transport grants by the end of this Parliament to make the improvements put off for far too long to improve the journeys that people make every day. And to unlock the potential of all parts of Britain, we are going further, investing in major rail projects to connect our towns and cities. In October, I announced funding for the Transpennine route upgrade, the backbone of rail travel in the north, linking York and Leeds and Manchester, with a quarter of that route expected to be electrified by this summer. I know the commitment of my honourable friends, the members for Huddersfield, York Outer and Colne Valley to this issue. And today I can announce a further £3.5 billion of investment for that route. But my ambition and the ambition of people across the north is greater still. And so, in the coming weeks, I will set out this government's plan to take forward our ambitions for Northern Powerhouse Rail. I have also heard the representations of my honourable friends, the members for Milton Keynes North, Milton Keynes Central and Buckingham and Bletchley. And I can tell the House today to connect Oxford and Cambridge and to back Milton Keynes' leading tech sector, I am providing a further £2.5 billion for the continued delivery of East-West Rail. And on a matter I know is of great importance to my honourable friends, the members for Lichfield, Birmingham Northfield and Birmingham Erdington, I can announce today that I am providing funding for the Midlands Rail Hub, the region's biggest and most ambitious rail improvement scheme for generations, strengthening connections from Birmingham across the West Midlands and into Wales too. Mr. Speaker, for 14 years, the Conservatives failed the people of Wales. Those days are over. Following representations from my right honourable friend, the Welsh Secretary, the First Minister for Wales and Welsh Labour MPs, I am pleased to announce today £445 million for railways in Wales over 10 years, including new funding for Padeswood Sidings and Cardiff West Junction. That, Mr. Speaker, is the difference made by two Labour governments working together to undo a generation of underfunding and neglect. This government takes seriously its commitment to investment, jobs and growth in every part of the UK. And I have heard the concerns of my honourable friends, the members for Mid Cheshire and Rossendale and Darwen, and the Mayor of Liverpool City Region, Steve Rotherham, that past governments have underinvested in towns and cities outside of London and the South East. And they are right. So I am today publishing the conclusion of the review of the Treasury's Green Book, the government's manual for assessing value for money. Our new Green Book will support place-based business cases and make sure no region has Treasury guidance wielded against them. I said we would do things differently. I said we wanted growth in all parts of Britain. And, Mr. Speaker, I meant it. Backing our nations and regions means backing our devolved governments. And this spending review provides the largest settlement in real terms since devolution was introduced, with £52 billion for Scotland, £20 billion for Northern Ireland by the end of the spending review, and £23 billion for Wales. And having heard representations from many Welsh Labour colleagues, and because I know the obligation we owe to our industrial communities, I'm providing a multi-year settlement of £118 million to keep coal tips safe in Wales. Mr. Speaker, I know the pride that people feel in their communities. I see it everywhere I go. But I also know that for too many people, there is a sense that something has been lost, as high streets have declined, as community spaces have closed, as jobs and opportunities have gone elsewhere. The renewal of Britain must be felt everywhere. Today, I'm pleased to announce additional funding to support up to 350 communities, especially those in the most deprived areas. Funding to improve parks, youth facilities, swimming pools and libraries. Supporting councils' fight back against graffiti and fly tipping, including in Blackpool South, in Stockport, in Stoke Central, in Swindon North and in Newcastle upon Tyne East and Wallsend. And there's more. Job creation and community assets are vital to our growth mission. But too often, regeneration projects are held back, gathering dust in bureaucratic limbo. We are changing that. We will establish a growth mission fund to expedite local projects that are important for growth. Projects like Southport Pier, an iconic symbol of coastal heritage which has stood empty since 2022. Kilcody's seafront and High Street, where investment would create jobs and new business opportunities. And plans for Peterborough's new sports quarter to drive activity and community cohesion. Because people deserve a government which shares their ambition for their communities. To deliver renewal, to deliver growth, to deliver opportunity. And that is what you get with a Labour government. If people are to feel pride in their community, enjoy their public spaces and spend time on their high streets, they must feel safe when they do so. Safe in the knowledge that when people break the law, they feel the full force of the law. But the party opposite left our prisons overflowing and on the brink of collapse. And they left it to us to deal with the consequences. We are taking the necessary action. So with my right honourable friend, the Justice Secretary, we have announced that we are investing £7 billion to fund 14,000 new prison places and putting up to £700 million per year into reform of the probation system too. Today, I will do more. I am increasing police spending power by an average 2.3% per year in real terms over the spending review period. To protect our people, our homes and our streets. That is more than £2 billion, supporting us to meet our plan for change commitment of putting 13,000 additional police officers, PCSOs and special constables into neighbour policing roles across England and Wales. And as well as every place, I am determined that every family feels the benefits of Britain's renewal. Falling interest rates, supported by our commitment to economic stability, are already saving many families hundreds of pounds a month on their mortgage. I have accepted pay review body recommendations for pay in our armed forces, for our nurses, our teachers and our prison officers, giving public sector workers the fair pay rises that they deserve. And in autumn, I increased the national living wage, a pay rise for around 3 million hard-working people. And this government is doing more. We're banning exploitative zero-hour contracts. We're strengthening statutory sick pay and ending the injustice of unscrupulous fire and rehire practices. Those are my choices. Those are Labour choices. Mr. Speaker, I know that for many people, the cost of living remains a constant challenge, which is why we are capping the cost of school uniforms. And I can tell the House today that I am extending the £3 bus fare cap until at least March 2027. Earlier this week, we announced that over 3/4 of pensioners will receive the winter fuel payment this year. And there is more. To get bills down, not just this winter, but in winters to come, we have expanded the Warm Homes Plan to support thousands more of the UK's poorest households, including providing £7 million to homes in Bradford, £11 million to homes in Rugby, and £30 million to homes in Blackpool. And today I can announce that I will deliver in full our manifesto commitment to upgrade millions of homes, saving families and pensioners across the country up to £600 each and every year off their bills. I am determined to do everything in my power to put more money in people's pockets, to give people security and control in their lives, to make working people better off, and to show them that this government, this Labour government, is on their side. Mr. Speaker, taxpayers work hard for their money, and they expect their government to spend their money with care. So for the first time in 18 years, this government has run a zero-based review, a line-by-line assessment of what government spends, something that the Tories didn't bother to do in 14 years. And as a result of that work, and of our wider drive for efficiencies, led by my right honourable friend, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, in this spending review, I have found savings. From the closure and sale of government buildings and land, cutting back office costs and reducing consultancy spend, all which the previous government failed to do. Reforms that will make public services more efficient, more productive and more focused on the user. I have been relentless in driving out inefficiencies. I will be relentless in cutting out waste, with every single penny reinvested back into our public services. Mr. Speaker, I joined the Labour Party almost 30 years ago because I knew that the Conservative Party, when I grew up, didn't care much about schools like mine or the kids I grew up with. I joined because I believe that every young person should have the equal chance to succeed, no matter where they come from, no matter what their parents do. I believe that just as strongly today as I did then. That is why at the budget last autumn, I ended the tax loophole which exempted private schools from VAT and business rates. And I put that money where it belongs, into helping the 93% of children in our state schools. Mr. Speaker, they oppose money for their local state schools, and I will always prioritise them. That was my choice. That is the Labour choice. And because of the decisions that we made in this spending review, and working with my right honourable friend, the Education Secretary, last week this government announced that free school meals will be extended to over 500,000 more children. That policy alone will lift 100,000 children out of poverty, children in schools from Tower Hamlets to Sunderland and from Swansea to Bridgend. Last year at Labour Party conference, I was proud to announce the first steps in our plan to deliver breakfast clubs for every child, with an initial rollout to the first 750 schools. And we will continue with that national rollout as part of our manifesto commitment, so that no child goes hungry and every child can have the best chance to thrive and succeed. Yeah. And because I know that a good start in life does not just start at school, I can also announce £370 million for school-based nurseries to put us firmly on track to meet our plan for change commitment for a record number of children being school-ready. And for children's social care, to break the dangerous cycle of late intervention and low-quality care, I am providing £555 million of transformation funding over the spending review period, so that children do not go needlessly into care when they could stay at home. Yeah. And for children where state intervention is necessary, better care and better outcomes. Yeah. And last week, I was pleased to announce, with my right honourable friend, the Culture Secretary, that more than £130 million from the Dormant Assets Scheme with the financial services sector will be allocated to fund facilities for our young people, to give every child the chance to take part in music, sport and in drama, to fund libraries in our schools, so that the confidence and the opportunity that those resources open up are no longer the preserve of the privileged few. Those are my choices. They are Labour choices, and they are the choices of the British people. Overall, I am providing a cash uplift of over £4.5 billion a year for additional funding in the core schools budget by the end of the spending review, backing our teachers and backing our kids. Mr. Speaker, people who went to ordinary comprehensives in the 80s and 90s are all too familiar with the experience of being taught in temporary classrooms. And the previous Conservative government oversaw another generation of kids herded into cold and damp buildings as school roofs literally crumbled. It wasn't acceptable when I was at school, and it isn't acceptable now. So I am providing investment rising to nearly £2.3 billion per year to fix our crumbling classrooms. In addition, £2.4 billion per year to continue our programme to rebuild 500 schools, including Chase Community School in Enfield, Woodkirk Academy in Leeds and Budmouth Academy in Weymouth. Investing in our young people, investing in Britain's future, investing in opportunity for all. That is Labour's choice. Finally, Mr. Speaker, let me turn to the... I knew that, Chair. Let me turn to our National Health Service. It's our most treasured public service. People rightly expect an NHS that is there when they need it, an ambulance that comes when they call one, a GP appointment available when they need one, a scan that is performed when they are referred for one. I am hugely grateful to our nurses, our doctors, our paramedics and other healthcare professionals for everything that they do. If we want a strong economy where working people can fulfil their potential, then we must have a strong NHS. Not as the Reform Party have called for, an insurance-based system. We believe in a publicly funded National Health Service free at the point of use. Now, perhaps the member for Clacton should spend some more time focusing on the priorities of the British people and less time in the Westminster Arms. Although, Mr. Speaker, after this week, perhaps the Two Chairman pub might be a better fit. At the budget, I took the decisions necessary to provide an immediate injection of funding to get the NHS back on its feet. And I commend my right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, for all the progress that he has already made. In less than a year, this government has recruited 1,700 new GPs, delivered 3.5 million extra appointments, and cut waiting lists by more than 200,000. Fixing our NHS also means delivering fundamental reform across social care, which means that we are backing the first ever fair pay agreement for that sector. And I am increasing the NHS technology budget by almost 50%. And we are investing £10 billion to bring our analogue health system into the digital age, including through the NHS app, so patients can manage their prescriptions, get their test results and book appointments all in one place. We are shifting care back to the community, providing more funding to support the training of thousands more GPs to deliver millions more appointments. We are investing more in prevention to meet our manifesto commitment of providing mental health support teams in all schools in England by the end of this Parliament. These investments will enable the delivery of our upcoming 10-year plan for health and put the NHS firmly back on the path to renewal. And to support that plan, to back the doctors and nurses that we rely on, and to make sure that the NHS is there whenever we need it, I am proud to announce today that this Labour government is making a record cash investment in our National Health Service, increasing real terms day-to-day spending by 3% per year for every single year of this spending review. An extra £29 billion per year for the day-to-day running of our health service. Mr. Speaker, that is what the British people voted for, and that is what we will deliver. More appointments, more doctors, more scanners, the National Health Service, created by a Labour government, protected by a Labour government, and renewed by this Labour government. Mr. Speaker, this is a spending review to deliver the priorities of the British people. Security, a strong Britain in a changing world. Economic growth, powered by investment and opportunity in every part of Britain. And our nation's health, with an NHS fit for the future. I have made my choices. In place of chaos, I choose stability. In place of decline, I choose investments. In place of pessimism, division and defeatism, I choose national renewal. These are my choices, Mr. Speaker. These are Labour choices. These are the choices of the British people, and I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Chancellor Belstride.
Mr. Speaker, this spending review is not worth the paper that it is written on, because the Chancellor has completely lost control. This is the spend now, tax later review, because the Right Honourable Lady knows she will need to come back here in the autumn with yet more taxes, and a cruel summer of speculation awaits. How can we possibly take this Chancellor seriously after the chaos of the last 12 months? We were assured, Mr. Speaker, we were assured at the election that Labour's plans involved barely any additional spending or borrowing. Now the Chancellor parades her largesse. Hundreds of billions in additional spending over this Parliament. The initial profile for that spending was, of course, significantly front-loaded, but the Chancellor now expects us to believe that she will let spending rise by only 1.2% a year. There is no chance whatsoever of that happening. For the lesson of the last year has been that when the going gets tough, the Right Honourable Lady blinks. She presented herself as the Iron Chancellor, but what we have seen is the tin-foil Chancellor, flimsy and ready to fold in the face of the slightest pressure. She said she would not fiddle her fiscal rules, then she did. She said she wouldn't make any unfunded commitments, but with the humiliation of the winter fuel U-turn, she just has. She looked business leaders in the eye and said no more taxes. But we all know what happened next, and we all know what is coming in the autumn. Her own backbenchers, her cabinet colleagues, Labour's trade union paymasters, even the Prime Minister himself, they have all seen that she is weak, weak, weak. And they can smell the blood. They will be back for more, Mr. Speaker, and they will get it. These spending plans are a fantasy. And it's not the truth, Mr. Speaker, that the Chancellor has to maintain this fiction because she has left herself no room for manoeuvre. She is constantly teetering on the edge of blowing her fiscal rules, which she already changed to allow even more borrowing. And the only way she can claim to be meeting her rules is by pretending that she can control spending over the coming years. But, Mr. Speaker, let's look at the record so far. Borrowing in the last financial year came out $11 billion above even the OBR's March forecast, and 70% higher than the plans that she inherited from this side of the House.
Tax up, borrowing up.
But for someone so keen on borrowing, Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor seems strangely reticent to even use the word. Indeed, ministers bizarrely tell us that it is Labour's fiscal rules themselves that have, quote, generated investment. The reality is a little more straightforward. They have loosened the fiscal rules so they can borrow more. Borrow and borrow and borrow, allowing the national debt to continue to rise higher every single year, while ministers pretend that it is not. An eye-watering £200 billion of additional borrowing in this Parliament compared to the plans set out in the last Conservative budget, with £80 billion more to be spent on debt interest alone. In fact, if she had retained our fiscal rules, as she said, they may laugh, Mr. Speaker. If she had retained our fiscal rules, as she said she would before the election, the OBR have confirmed that she would be breaking them right now. Mr. Speaker, our country is now vulnerable. Vulnerable to even the smallest changes in the bond markets. Should we face a sudden external shock, we have no fiscal firepower left with which to respond, all thanks to the Right Honourable Lady's choices. So can I ask the Chancellor, will she be open about what she has done? Will she admit that she has made a conscious choice to borrow more and to accept higher debts? Does she accept this means interest rates and mortgages will be higher than they would otherwise have been, as the OBR themselves have said? And given she continues to claim that she has brought stability to the public finances, can I ask her what on earth her definition of stability is? And, Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor must be delighted that she does not have to face a new OBR forecast today. Because if she did, she would have to set out how she will fund her humiliating U-turn on winter fuel payments, having already blown the savings and buying off her trade union paymasters last year. She said this week there was, and I quote, she said, still work to do to ensure that the sums add up. Hardly reassuring from the person in charge of the nation's finances, Mr. Speaker. You don't need to have worked at the Bank of England for a decade to know that that pitiful utterance is unlikely to soothe the markets. So can the Chancellor confirm categorically that there will be no additional borrowing to pay for this chaotic reversal? And if this is the case, can she explain how on earth it can be paid for without raising taxes? And can the Right Honourable Lady explain why last summer, apparently to avoid a run on the pound, Mr. Speaker, this measure was so urgent that pensioners had to be left in the cold over the last winter? What exactly has changed? Because it certainly hasn't been made possible by an improvement in the economy or the public finances, which the IFS said this week are both in a worse state now than when Labour came into office. And if we had an OBR forecast, we might also get some answers on how the government intends to find £3.5 billion to abolish the two-child benefit cap, which we are led to believe is imminent. Another addition to the ballooning welfare bill, another expensive surrender to the Labour left. And we would certainly get the OBR's assessment of the economic outlook following the tariffs. Changes the Right Honourable Lady knew full well were coming. Meanwhile, her deluge of taxes and regulations has left business confidence at record lows, costing people their livelihoods. Only yesterday, Mr. Speaker, we saw the latest evidence of that. Figures for last month show the number of people on payrolls fell by more than 100,000 after already falling by 55,000 in April. Unemployment is up by more than 10% since Labour came to office. The Right Honourable Lady may trumpet extra spending today, but is not the simple truth that she has trashed the economy and left no contingency in the face of a highly volatile global outlook? It's not the reality, Mr. Speaker, that the Chancellor knows she will have to come back in the autumn with more tax rises to fund these plans? Or can she assure us right now that this is not the case? Yes or no? We know that the Deputy Prime Minister has helpfully provided her with an entire brochure of tax rises that she will no doubt be perusing over the summer. The Corbynist catalogue, Mr. Speaker. And can the Chancellor confirm, as promised, can she confirm as promised that the income tax thresholds will not be frozen at the budget, a move she herself said would hurt working people? And Mr. Speaker, what about the uncertainties in the departmental spending plan she has just set out today? Can she assure us that these plans will not be topped up, that no backroom deals have been cut with disgruntled cabinet ministers? Can she assure us that the capital allocations announced today will actually be spent on capital, not diverted in year, as she has in the past, to day-to-day budgets to play more games with her fiscal rules? The Chancellor has had to impose a settlement on the Home Secretary because this spending review won't deliver for our hard-working police officers across the country. Instead, the Home Office budget gets squandered on asylum costs because this government simply doesn't have a plan on illegal migration. And as the Defence Secretary admitted, and I quote, the government has lost control of our borders. Small boat crossings, Mr. Speaker, are up 42% on the same point last year. On energy, at a time when businesses up and down the country are struggling with high energy costs, the Chancellor has chosen today to fund the Energy Secretary's vanity projects like GB Energy.
Where is he?
And while we welcome the announcements on expanding nuclear capacity, the scale of ambition is a downgrade on the commitments made previously on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, the party opposite barely mentioned farming in their manifesto. And now we know why. It's not enough to have hit the farmers in our country with a family farm tax. Today, what we see in black and white is a choice to make further cuts to the vital grants on which many farmers rely. A huge betrayal of our farming communities, and something which many of her MPs in rural areas will have to go back to their constituencies later this week to explain. And on defence, we will always welcome any additional investment in our armed forces and capability.
But there isn't any. There isn't.
Though I note, Madam Deputy Speaker, nothing was said about when 3% will be achieved.
Not squeak.
All we heard was that in the intelligence service spending was to be included in defence spending to flatter the numbers. We left the party opposite a fully funded plan, which they didn't over for a year. But now, what we get is the Chancellor's own black hole on defence spending, the lack of a timeline on when we will achieve the 3%. Instead, we get a £30 billion bill for the Chagos surrender, money which should go to our brave armed forces, rather than is being reported funding lower taxation in Mauritius. The first tax cuts for which this Chancellor has ever been responsible are in Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, we would have made different choices. We would not have killed growth with huge tax rises and new regulations. We would not have taught down our economy and the great businesses up and down our country. We would be focusing on efficiency and productivity in the public sector and not handing out pay rises with no strings attached. And we would be getting a grip on welfare. Labour cancelled our plans for fundamental reform to health and disability benefits that would have seen 450,000 fewer people on long-term sickness benefits. That is a disgrace. And instead of proper reforms to PIP, their own plans are a rushed cost-cutting exercise, so rushed they even had to change them after they had announced them. And their own backbenchers are in full revolt. Yet again, they talk tough, but there is no substance. The Right Honourable Lady has no grip. She has no clue. The markets and the public see a Chancellor completely out of her depth. Having blown her headroom and more from her budget in the autumn, she was forced into an emergency budget in March to scrabble around to try and repair the damage. Today she comes before us again with yet another fantastical tale that she knows will have completely fallen apart come the autumn. So we are not left with stronger foundations, as the Right Honourable Lady would have us believe, but rather another dose of that hallmark for which her actions have made her so renowned: uncertainty and failure. And so there she sits, Mr. Speaker, powerless to resist her disillusioned MPs and her panicking Prime Minister. Like a cork on the tide, the drumbeat for U-turns pounding in her ears. Yet her tone today suggests that all is well. The sunlit uplands await. What a hopeless conceit, a masterclass in delusion. Inflation is up, unemployment is up, growth is marked down, business and households are hurting, investors are fleeing in their droves. The bond market vigilantes circle. And here we have the Chancellor, who refuses to listen. Not only tinfoil, but tin-eared too. And let me be clear, Mr. Speaker, it is working people and businesses who will pay the price come the autumn, with yet more taxes to pay for her weakness and her failures. Mr. Speaker, we cannot afford this spending review. And for many, the growing conclusion is that we cannot afford this Chancellor.
Chancellor the Exchequer.
I will address the Shadow Chancellor's specific points in a moment, but I want to start by acknowledging the progress he has made. After all, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's been quite a week for him. Last Thursday, he gave a speech saying it will take time for his party to win back trust on the economy. And today he showed us how far he and his party have to go to be able to achieve that. Now, I want to give him some credit for last week's analysis. He said that the Conservative Party was seen to have failed. He's right. He said that the last Conservative government put at risk the very stability which Conservatives had always said must be carefully protected. Madam Deputy Speaker, I agree with him. And he said that on his party's...
Chancellor. I need to be able to hear, and I'm sure our constituents would also want to hear. Chancellor.
He said that the credibility of the UK's economic framework was undermined by spending billions with no proper plan for how it would be paid for. Mr. Speaker, I couldn't have put it better myself. Now, the Shadow Chancellor could have gone a lot further. For example, Madam Deputy Speaker, he couldn't even bring himself to mention Liz Truss by name. Stride by name, baby steps by nature. But at least he's made a start. Also spoke about, and I quote, the death of what we might call the age of thoughtfulness. And speaking of the death of thoughtfulness, let me now turn to his response to the spending review. Now, the Shadow Chancellor welcomed our nuclear investment of £30 billion, but he said it's not enough. He welcomed our defence investment of £11 billion, but he said it was not enough. He and his party opposed the decisions that this government has taken to make those announcements possible by voting against the budget in October last year. Madam Deputy Speaker, you can't spend the money if you won't raise the money. Now that's a lesson from Liz Truss that he has already forgotten. He complained about the level of investment that I've announced, ignoring the fact that the reason this investment is so important is because his party oversaw 14 years of cratering investment, stagnating wages and public service collapse. So let me remind him of what I said, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Tories' fiscal rules guaranteed neither stability nor investment, and that is why I changed them, so that we can get stability and we can get investment. All their fiscal rules enabled was them to crash the economy, and the working people of Britain will never forgive them for doing that. So the party opposite set themselves against investment in the renewal of Britain. They set themselves against NHS investment, free school meals, investment in skills, investment in carbon capture and storage, investment in transport in our towns and in our cities, investment in everything that we've set out today. And yet the British people voted for them. And the honourable gentleman says, the right honourable gentleman says that the Home Office budget involves an increase in asylum costs. It doesn't. Asylum costs are coming down under this Labour government because we are deporting more people and getting them out of hotels. He says that we're cutting police spending, we're increasing it by 2.3% in real terms a year. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, we've had no apology. No apology for the damage that they did to our economy or to our public services. In the last 11 months, interest rates have been cut 4 times. GDP was the fastest growing of all G7 economies in the first quarter of this year. Business confidence is rising. 500,000 more people are in work. Record investment has been made in Britain. Real wages have increased more in 10 months than they did in 10 years of the Conservative government. The national living wage has increased, giving 3 million working people a pay rise. And we've done all of this without increasing taxes on working people. Those are the choices that we have made. That is the difference that we are making. And in the spending review today, we set out the spending that we announced in the budget last year and in the spring statement. Not a penny more, not a penny less. I said in the budget and in the spring statement that public services must now live within the means that we have set, and we have achieved that. There will be a budget later this year, and in that budget we will set out in the round all of the fiscal plans. But we have already drawn a line under the Tory mismanagement with tax rises last year, and we will never have to repeat a budget like that again, because we will never have to clean up after the mess that the party opposite made again. Now, the reason that this Labour government has spent its first year fixing the foundations of our economy and stabilising our public finances is because it is what we had to do. The government of which the Shadow Chancellor was a part of left an unenviable legacy, which is why his party is, in his own words, in a difficult place. Now, we've made our choices. Removing barriers to growth, barriers untouched by the party when they were in office for 14 years. Strengthening Britain's security, the biggest real terms increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War, something that they did not do when they had 14 years in office. Bringing our health service in the 21st century after neglect by the party opposite in their 15 years in office. Investing in Britain's renewal to repair the damage done by the party opposite in their 14 years in office. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, in stark contrast to the Conservatives' 14 years of chaos, waste and decline, we are delivering on the priorities of the British people.